You guys know that I love vehicles in 7 Days to Die. The basic cast does leave a lot to be desired. Well, turns out there's a mod that adds 24 distinct and unique vehicles to 7 Days to Die, not to mention dozens of vehicle variations. That's right, today we're going to be doing something very different. Today's video is going to be a bit of a half tutorial, half review of Bdubs Vehicles. You can find the links in the description and comments if you want to download this mod. So the first thing I have to say about this mod is that the models look great. A lot of mods that include vehicles in 7 Days to Die can be low quality or poorly scaled to the player, but Bdubs vehicles feel well integrated into the game. Some of the colours of certain cars can be a bit bright by the standard palette of 7 Days to Die, but I honestly find that quite refreshing. The next thing I have to say, of course, is that these vehicles handle extremely well compared to some other vehicle mods that are available. A lot of other mods will have very floaty vehicles that can flip over easily, or they have awful turning or brakes, or they can even get stuck in the map when you try to do wheelies on their motorcycles. But all the vehicles in this mod pack feel grounded and honestly pretty compatible to the base game's vehicle feeling, and in many cases they're actually a lot easier to control. Also, I know a big factor for some of you will be the immersion. Are these vehicles overpowered and cheap to craft? Hell no! These vehicles fit perfectly into the framework of the base game in my opinion, all being fully integrated into the Grease Monkey perk in a very balanced way. For the most part, you won't find yourself thinking this is way too powerful. They all feel very grounded. Now, some of the Grease Monkey 5 vehicles in this pack are very strong compared to what you would find in the base game, but they are also limited behind 10 intellect or a very high game stage or the usual trader issues that make everything easy to get. But it really doesn't go overboard with its strong stuff. For example, arguably the best vehicle in this pack in terms of strength would be the MRAP. The MRAP has 98 slots of inventory, that is 9 more than the 4x4, and it also has 10,000 health, but it's also got 4 seats and is fairly fuel efficient. Sound overpowered? Well, for a start, it's pretty slow. In fact, it's slower than the base game's motorcycle and 4x4, and it's a very, very end-game item. You'll need Grease Monkey 5 or some very good luck in the later game stages to get your hands on the schematics. And once you get the schematics, the steel cost is through the roof. And look at the crafting time on those parts. That's all a very good thing when it comes to vehicles integrations into the game. When I install mods in my game, my #1 priority is making sure the mod fits into a slot of the game nicely. I like to feel like I'm not using a mod at all. And this MRAP, despite being very strong, is balanced in its requirements to obtain it. So it slots into your game fairly seamlessly, and that is a model for everything in this mod pack in my opinion. Another big thing I love from mods is when they encourage decision making that the base game fails to do. I've said it before in this channel, but the vehicles in 7 Days to Die are largely either so situational that having one will always be good, like the gyrocopter, which removes the element of choice because you might as well get one for if you need to fly, or the choice between them is so obvious that it's not even a real choice. Nobody thinks the minibike is the best vehicle in the game. It's just a stop on your progression to either a motorcycle or a 4x4. And the motorcycle versus 4x4 debate essentially comes down to how you loot. Me, I find the motorcycle inventory is sufficient storage space for my journeys. I'm not a loot absolutely everything in case I need it in 50 hours player. If I want lead, I go out and mine it. Inventory isn't an issue for me, so I use motorcycles because they're more fuel efficient than 4x4s. Some of you are like little crackheads when it comes to loot, and you absolutely cannot let even a single piece of polymer slip through your fingers in case you need it in 80 hours. And that's a completely fine playstyle which the 4x4 caters towards. But that's about the only choice the player ever makes when it comes to vehicles in the base game. But in Bdubs Vehicles, you're given some really meaningful choices between the vehicles. But enough of that. You want to know what vehicles are in this pack and what they can do. And I know you've been eyeing up my helicopter over there, don't worry, we'll get to it. So the way I'm going to structure this is in a semi-tutorial fashion by explaining the vehicles with relation to their Grease Monkey level. So at level 1 Grease Monkey, nothing new is added at all, it's just the old bicycle for now. But once we hop up to Grease Monkey 2, we see a new addition to the team. The golf cart. The golf cart is slow and cheap, with very good fuel efficiency. It also has 2 seats, so if fuel is a problem for you and your friends in the early game, you and your buddy can carpool with the golf cart. As an added bonus, the mod author also included a golf club. Wasn't that nice of him? So moving up to level 3, it's a bit more interesting. We have 4 new variants of motorcycle. The first 3 are the cruiser, the rat, and the junker. These all move faster than the basic motorcycle, but also cost a solid amount more steel to obtain. They're largely the same as the basic motorcycle aside from that speed difference, but the variety is nice. Lots of different styles of these bikes are also available, so if you want a more interesting motorcycle, this is where you'll find it. But that's only 3, I said 4. That's because I'm keeping the dirt bike aside. The dirt bike is very special in my opinion. This bike is actually easier to make than even the basic motorcycle, and it moves almost 50% faster than any vehicle in the base game at a whopping 22 meters per second. And it's just as fuel efficient as any of the other motorcycles. That might sound overpowered, so what's the catch? It only has 9 inventory slots, compared to the base motorcycle's 36. Yeah, look at that. The loot goblins are buffering. That's called making a decision. The base game doesn't let you do that much. Now I know for me the dirt bike would be a no-brainer. 22 meters per second and just as fuel efficient, hell yeah. But some of you loot trollers are really thinking now. But you don't necessarily have to choose. If you want to go and grab an airdrop or mine a large amount of one specific resource, or maybe you need to reach a friend who's in trouble, then quickly jump on the dirt bike and FTL jump over there. But then when you intend to go loot goblining, take the cruiser, or maybe you like the style of the junker more. Either way, to do that you would have to get more resources and spend more time fine-tuning your experience. One single item added to the game, and it makes you actually use your brain, or it makes you actively choose to spend time on having both things. Finally, something to do in this game other than craft shotgun shells and quest for 90 hours. And this mod is full of these little micro decisions that add a lot to your playthrough. Let's move on to Grease Monkey Rank 4. Now, Grease Monkey 4 unlocks a whole lot of new vehicles, most of which are plays on the base game's 4x4 in terms of stats, usually costing more steel, but maintaining the inventory capacity but increasing speed as well. We have the buggy, which has 2 seats, moves very quickly and is very fuel efficient, but is a lot more expensive than the basic 4x4. Then we have the hot rod, which is largely similar. 2 seats, fast, reasonable fuel efficiency, and the 4x4's inventory. But it'll cost you a lot more than the standard cars, like the Charger, which is slightly cheaper but also slightly slower, or the GNX, Nova and the Stallion, which are cheaper again but are less fuel efficient. All of these are still better than the cheapest option being the 4x4. These vehicles add a good spectrum of cost effectiveness for players to choose between, which I really like. Even if you don't want to fork out the extra steel for these upgraded vehicles, the level 4 vehicles will still have some variations which are essentially just varieties of the 4x4, with things like the Willy Jeep, which has colour variations by the way. We also have the Pickup, which is largely the same without the colour variations. There's also the Sherp, I don't know what Sherp is, and the Work Truck, which are mostly pointless from what I can tell, being slow, having the basic 81 slot inventory, and having good and okay fuel efficiency respectively. There's also, however, the Box Truck, which is very slow and expensive, but it has 4 seats and 90 inventory slots, which is 9 more than the 4x4 available at the same tier. So if you and the boys want to jump in the whip and just decimate an entire city like some kind of zombie version of Payday 2, you can do it nice and early with the Box Truck. You could also do the same with 6 people in the UAZ, for when you absolutely need the whole squad to eradicate the local environment, but it does have slightly less storage at 81 slots. But if you and the boys need something faster and more geared for war, you also have the Humvee. An expensive piece of equipment, but it can get you and your crew around very fuel efficiently and at a speed for 4-seat vehicles that is unparalleled at this tier of Grease Monkey. Do you see what I mean about these decisions now? Then let's move on to the really interesting stuff at level 5. Let's start with the Marauder, an expensive car with some chunky wheels. It's very fuel inefficient and it's just about as fast as all the other cars. But let's be honest, you aren't driving this thing for efficiency. So let's move on to the LMV. The LMV is a very cheap and fuel efficient truck with 90 inventory slots. It has 2 seats and is perfect for if you need to move a lot of stuff quickly and far. If you have a group on a server and you need to move chests and chests of gear to a new base location, building a couple of these cheaply and quickly is the best way to move it wherever you need to go. And with its huge fuel efficiency, you can go very far with these. Moving on from that, we have the BRDM 2. Expensive, 6 seats, slow, reasonable fuel efficiency and 90 inventory slots. The main appeal of this vehicle is its 6 seats along with its extreme durability, being the second most durable vehicle in this pack. This is perfect for if you need to send a whole squad of people into some tough PvP situation, or maybe if you're playing with some mods which drastically increase zombie spawns or the danger. This would be perfect for getting several people safely through a very hostile area, as it has no weak points where the passengers or drivers are exposed. I can't think of any real need for this vehicle in the vanilla game outside of PvP, which isn't very common in the 7 Days to Die community. A more expensive but more fuel efficient and durable alternative is the MRAP. This only has 4 seats, but it maintains that 90 slot inventory and has 10,000 health. I've already explained why I think the MRAP is such a good addition, so let's just move on to the final 3 vehicles. The Duster, the MD500 and the UH60. The Duster is a cheap plane with 2 seats. It controls essentially the same as the gyrocopter. The Duster is surprisingly slow however, actually being slower than the dirt bike, but it does have reasonable fuel efficiency, and it inherits the gyrocopter's 45 inventory slots. Now on to the much more interesting vehicles in my opinion. First up we have the MD500. The MD500 is a very expensive vehicle, but it's also very fast at 25 meters per second. It has 4 seats and can go a very reasonable distance, also inheriting the 45 slots from the gyrocopter. However, the main appeal of this vehicle is its uncontested maneuverability. The helicopters added in this pack have custom controls rather than using the default gyrocopter controls. These helicopters use W and S to go up and down, rather than the momentum-based system like the gyrocopter. To move forwards, you need to use the spacebar and C to adjust the angle of the nose. This controls forward and backwards movement. But the MD500 is not the only helicopter in this pack. The UH60 is the ultimate form of aerial mobility in 7 Days to Die. With 6 seats, 81 inventory slots and moving at 25 meters per second at a reasonable fuel mileage, this absolute behemoth is extremely expensive, but it has to be the #1 way to get where you need to go. You can loot everything and leave as quickly as you came. Perfect for huge multiplayer servers, but again, largely overkill in single player. Overall though, Bdubs Vehicles is a fantastic addition for any vehicle lover's playthrough, but I'd also highly recommend it for everyone. In terms of ratings, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. I'd be slightly happier personally if some of the vehicle costs were adjusted, as a few vehicles are more expensive but worse in a lot of ways. But the sheer variety makes that issue minimal, to be completely honest. But what about you? Are you going to give this mod a try? Have you already given it a try? What did you think? For my regular viewers, is this something you'd like to see more of? If so, let me know about some of the mods you want to see me showcase on the channel. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.